500. And that concludes our bid opening.
Thank you very much for that. Is there still a need for a public speaker?
Okay, sir, if you would like to approach the podium, you'll have 2 minutes to offer your commentary.
Mr.
Sorry,
Joseph?
can I just add?
Sure.
I just want to make sure, TJ, that it's read into the record that this was by no fault of the bidder and that it was a clerical error and all 8 bids will be evaluated in the same manner and that the evaluation period has not yet begun.
That is correct. Thank you, Ms. City Attorney Virginia Choi.
Yes, thank you for that clarification, Ms. Choi.
Good morning, members of the board. I, Joseph Vasil, am here representing Vasil Inc.
Sir, can you put your mic closer to, thank you.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Is it on?
It's on if you just put it right up.
Right up to.
Yeah.
there you go.
Good morning, members of the board.
Perfect.
I, Joseph Vasil, am here representing Vasil Inc. in the matter of acceptance of Lee construction bid. It is the contractor's responsibility to deliver the bid on time, either by express mail or by hand delivery. Vasil Inc. has been disqualified by numerous projects for delivering the bid late, either by express mail or by hand. Vasil Inc. was third, and if Lee construction bid is accepted, then Vasil Inc. falls out of third place. First and second place bidders were way low, which may allow Vasil Inc. to be selected as low bidder. Allowing the Lee construction bid to be accepted is not fair to Vasil Inc. If Lee construction bid is accepted, then Vasil Inc. is requesting all bids be rejected and the project be put out for rebid to be fair to all contractors. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your time this morning. Public comment for item number 1 is now officially closed. Colleagues, is there a motion to adopt item number 1? Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to adopt item number 1.
Very good, and we will take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas, President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item is approved.
Great, thank you very much. That is the final bid that we have received for the Sepulveda Boulevard project. Thank you, sir, very much, Mr. Castellanos and TJ Knight, for that, correcting that clerical error that happened last week. Moving on to item number 2, this is a request from the Bureau of Engineering in Council District 5. Permanent easement acquisition, parcel number 4318-033010, Exposition West Bikeway, North Val Segment Project, right-of-way number 3392217A. Recommending the board to, 1, authorize the city engineer or his designee, we already started wrong there, Udi. To negotiate and enter into an agreement and related documents to acquire a permanent bike path easement affecting real property located at 3185 South Motor Avenue, Los Angeles, California, 90064 property for the completion of the Exposition West Bikeway Northville Segment Project. 2, authorize the city engineer or his designee to request the Los Angeles Department of Transportation to draw the necessary demand for the total amount of just compensation not to exceed $85,125 payable to the Shabbat of Cheviot Hills to cover the cost of acquiring the permanent bike path easement and improvements listed in the property exchange agreement between Aaron and Esther Begun and the City of Los Angeles for the project. And 3, adopt a sale ordinance to exchange approximately 860 square feet of exempt surplus land located at 3195 South Motor Avenue, Los Angeles, California, 90064 to Aaron and Esther Begun as part of the consideration for the purchase of the bike path easement affecting property. So Mr. Jimenez is here this morning. Please tell us what you are doing, sir.
Good morning. Udi Jimenez, Chief Real Estate Officer for the Bureau of Engineering. And this is the bike path that's going to connect downtown LA around Exposition Park all the way to Santa Monica, the city of Santa Monica. And it's going to be running more or less around, along the alignment of the Expo line, so people could get on and off the train, ride their bike too, or pedestrian walks, so that it'll be a more complete transportation corridor. And this is the gap that's going to actually connect the Santa Monica line all the way down to Exposition. And this will remove the bike lanes from the streets, and it'll actually be a protected bike path where it's going to run behind some properties in Cheviot Hills. And this is one of the properties that we have a negotiated settlement with, and we avoided condemnation. So that's always a good thing. Condemnation could end up costing lots of money. And the other part of the purchase is the exchange, where the project was going to have an uneconomic remnant that is actually next to the Shabbat. And we were able to negotiate an exchange where a portion of the property, 860 square feet, is going to be exchanged and end up being part of the Chabad property, and we're going to pay for the rest of it. Happy to answer any other questions.
Great, thank you very much for that. Any questions, colleagues? Dr. Davis?
I wanted to find out, in terms of our timeline for the project, what do we anticipate the timeline of completion of the project will be?
So we're nearing the completion of the design process and the acquisition. We were able to negotiate a little more than half of the purchases of the property. 8 properties are right now under condemnation. So we expect to resolve those acquisitions by the end of the summer. And so by the end of the summer, we'll have design and the real estate in hand. Thereafter, it'll go to bid and award, which takes about 6 months. So we hope that construction will start sometime in the spring next year.
Great. So in terms of our transformation of the bike paths on the street and making them directly involved in our bike path, we have the same capacity in terms of the numbers of bikes that will be able to travel in the bike path that would have been able to continue usage of the streets, correct?
Yes, so the capacity would be increased and safety would be increased, more importantly. Right now, pedestrians use the sidewalks and the bicyclists use part of the roadway.
Right.
And they're going to be taken off completely off the roadway at that section and to a much safer location behind, and it's going to be exclusively a bike and pedestrian path.
Great. I think what is also an added value is that this bike path will complement what we're doing with regard to rail. And the interconnectedness in transportation is critically important, and I think that this one is very innovative and comprehensive in the fact that we did not forget about the bicyclists who often remind us that they must be included in. So this was forward thinking, and I like this effort, and it shows us the innovation that our staff have executed in proposing this project.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Davis. Any other questions, colleagues? Seeing none. Uri, I see here that you have for recommendation authorize the city engineer on 1 and authorize the city engineer in 2. Can you explain to me why you're requesting this to go to the city engineer?
I'm not sure that I understand the question. Could you?
On recommendation 1, you are asking to authorize the city engineer or designee to negotiate and enter into an agreement related to related documents to acquire a permanent bike path easement affecting real property located at 3185. Usually, I don't delegate any authority to any bureau director. So I'm asking you, why do you need this authority?
So the authority would be to actually negotiate the purchase of property and enter into a contract. We could only, so that authority is as I understand it, part of the Board of Public Works Authority that's delegated, and there's no blanket authority for the city engineer to enter into negotiations for the purchase of property.
That's right, but what I'm telling you is that we don't usually give any authority to the city engineer or any bureau director when it's a board authority. So why is this one different?
As far as I know, this is a standard request that the board grants to the different bureaus to enter a negotiation. So we don't have that authority independently to enter into negotiations.
Correct.
So we're asking for that authority, and we do this on all projects.
Okay, Ms. Choi, is for this purpose, in this case, for this item number 2, us giving the authority to the city engineer would equal what exactly?
I believe what's being requested is the authority for the city engineer to negotiate the easement. Ultimately, the sale and purchase is the board's authority, but I believe what's being asked for here is the negotiation authority.
So by us delegating this authority would take us off from the negotiating, right? I don't mind, I'm okay with city engineer negotiating, but your last statement?
Yeah, I think the sale purchase authority is still ultimately with the board.
That's where I want to keep. So
Yes.
if we go with the recommendations 1 and 2, would that take us out of the purchasing authority?
I think the point of clarification, the dollar amount that is indicated in the motion is the limits to which we give him the authority to negotiate. So it's defined that he has the ability to do it at the 85,000.
Not to exceed the
That's
85,000.
correct. So he has the authority to negotiate and to plan and execute this project in collaboration with the Department of Transportation on our behalf for that amount.
Correct.
Right.
Ms. Choi, is that your legal stand on this too?
Yeah, I believe so, but ultimately the sale must be approved by the appropriate bodies, including the board and
Correct. I
council.
want to make sure that we do that.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, but absolutely. In number 2, we're asking for the authority for the payment. So the authority to buy the property lies completely on the board.
Okay.
And that's what we're asking in item number 2.
Okay, want to make sure that does happen. Okay, but as is, we're just giving you right now authority to negotiate up to the $85,000, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right, any other questions, colleagues? Seeing none, any objections? Seeing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 2 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Is there a second? I'll second that. Thank you, Vice President Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by Dr. Davis and a second by VP Villegas to move item number 2 forward and forthwith.
Very good. And we will take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas, President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item is approved and will move forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jimenez. Moving on to item number 3, this is a request from the Bureau of Sanitation in all council districts, policy number 820, residential sewer service charge determination, fiscal year 2023-2024. Recommending the board to, 1, approve the proposed rainy season review period to be used in the fiscal year 2023-2024 residential sewer service charge determination, and 2, approve the proposed dry winter compensation factor to be used in fiscal year 2023-2024 residential sewer service charge determination. And this morning, we have Ms. Amari here. Good morning, ma'am. Welcome.
Good morning.
First, we're looking for the approval for the rainy season and the rainy season review period. The rainy season is the initial dates we get, just getting that 75 to 90% of precipitation within winter. Those dates are from December 11th, 2022 to March 15th, 2023. But the more significant dates are the rainy season review period, which is when we tack on 27 to to the tail and to the beginning of those dates, which is November 14th, 2022 to April 11th, 2023. And we're also looking for the approval of the dry winter compensation factor, which is calculated through methodology found through the Hoffman case, which is at 0.97 for the next fiscal year.
Thank you so much for that report. Any questions, colleagues? Dr. Davis, Vice President Villegas. Oh, Vice President Villegas.
Oh, I was just, thank you for the brevity of your report. Is there a characterization that you can possibly give us for the item that's before us?
I'm sorry.
Is there, can you provide more context?
So the dry winter compensation factor is a factor that's applied to the winter water use, which is how we charge all sewer for residential properties that are not on a submeter. The dry winter compensation factor takes into account how much rain was occurred during a winter season, because the winter water use is based on water usage within a specified period. So we used different, variables to calculate this dry winter compensation factor, including water flow and sewage flow, just to determine what it's going to be. It does change from year to year, and the most important factor being that the amount of rain within a winter.
And can you let us know why this came about?
The dry winter compensation factor?
Yes.
So for any historical information, I'm going to hand it off to Eva.
What I'm getting at is I just want more context. Obviously, this is a public meeting, so just giving us the enumeration of dry or wet weather doesn't give enough context for anybody who's going to be viewing this possibly today or maybe in the future. And that's why I just wanted a little bit more context for the record.
Okay, so, what we do is that when we calculate the sewer service charge, we look at the water consumption volume, and based on the rainy patterns.
I get that, yes.
Yeah, so, so we are giving a discount to the customers to account for their irrigation. So the dry winter compensation factor is to provide a discount, to the customers for, for the water consumption and to calculate the
And
sewer
why are
service
we
charge.
doing the discount?
Because, that's the amount of the water that did not return into the sewer system. Those are the water that being consumed somewhere else, for example, for irrigation or car wash, things like
Okay,
that.
and how did this come about?
How is this?
How did this come about, this discount that you're referring to?
So, I believe it's back in.
Can you please talk in the mic, please?
Yeah, it's back in 1997, LA Sanitation, they came up this methodology, try to, give the benefit of the doubt and provide this discount to our customers. And that's how we developed this dry winter compensation factor calculation method.
Okay, I will pause there for now, but I'm not getting what I need in terms of the whole story.
Yeah, I think we're being a little vague, and we want to be a little bit more descriptive on it. How did you determine this formula this year? And then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Davis.
Okay. So in the past, the calculation is really we're looking at the water consumption volume.
I know, for this year. How did you determine this formula today?
The formula today is a result of a settlement agreement with, the Hoffman case. And so this is like a black and white standard fixed formula that we use different data and plug it in, and, we calculated this number. So that's the answer for your first question.
Somewhat, but Dr. Davis?
Yeah, in the Hoffman case, the finding of the Hoffman case was in favor of the consumer, correct?
I'm sorry, say it
The
again?
Hoffman case.
Right.
You referenced the Hoffman case.
Correct.
I'm asking you the findings of the Hoffman case. Do you happen to know, just very briefly, what we discovered?
Well, the finding of the Hoffman case is that the plaintiff claimed that sanitation, we do not have a fixed formula. A lot of the decisions are made by judgment call, based on experience and, the historical knowledge, and there's no consistency in making that determination. And they claim that LA San overcharged the
Right.
customers.
Right.
Which we disagree. But, because of the case, we have, making a settlement
Correct.
with the
So
plaintiff. Yes.
basically, consumers have felt in the past that the way in which we have charged in the usage of water in the sewer in both dry and wet weather, that it has not been crystal clear. And
Correct.
that they have been overcharged in the past because we have not implemented any programs to give them a return, because they know that in certain seasons that they are not using as much of this water as they do in other seasons. That there is a difference between dry and wet weather, in other words. So the purpose of what we are presenting today has a lot to do with us being effective and efficient in terms of the service that we provide for the ratepayers and their usage specifically as it relates to sewage and their usage in both dry and wet weather. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It essentially take away the human factor from the determination. It use a fixed formula, so there's no, discrepancy. There's a consistency there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we are, in our effort of operation, we are demonstrating our ability and our capacity to make sure that there is, in fact, a return to consumers in the difference of weather between dry and wet weather as it relates to the sewage usage. Is that pretty accurate?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Davis, for that clarification. Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. I just have another question. So today's item is only a reformulation for the dry weather compensation factor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is there a possibility for something like this to come up against the city of Los Angeles for wet weather determination or a factor?
Because this is a class action, if, the attorney and the class, the customers, they agree to the settlement, they would be giving up the right to come back to challenge this. I mean, Adina can elaborate a little bit more. I believe that's the answer, right? I'm not sure.
Yes, as part of the settlement agreement, there's a release of claims. So this type of claim by a class and people who did not opt out of the class, they would be bound to it once the settlement is final.
And this class for a potential, it could be a different class for a different case.
The terms of the settlement will reflect the release and the scope of the release. It can't be without boundaries, but to the extent you are asking for protection for the city and for the ratepayer from a challenge related to the dry winter compensation factor application and calculation, this settlement should foreclose the possibility of such an action in the future, as long as we're applying this methodology and as to this rate.
Okay. All right, and that's just for dry weather, though?
It's for whatever's within the scope of the settlement, which focused on the dry weather compensation factor calculation. Yeah.
All right, and then it does not include any wet weather calculations, correct?
That was not the subject of the lawsuit.
Getting at, yeah, just
Yes.
for clarification.
Yes, so I believe that my colleagues from sanitation had indicated that the dry winter compensation factor acts as a discount in order to reflect other other water uses where the water won't go back to the sewer. So that's why this was the focus of this litigation matter.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Commissioner Corson, and then I'll go back to you, Dr. Davis.
Thank you. Vice President Vegas asked some really good questions. I'm just going to ask questions that I've already asked you, just to, I didn't hear them shared with my colleagues. One is, how does this proposed rate compare to the previous year rates?
You know, in the prior years, for the last 15, 20 years, the rate ranged between 0.75 to 0.99. And I don't see how this is having a major difference from how it was calculated. The main change would be it's taking out the human judgment factor from the determination. It used a fixed formula. If it's at this amount with this range, we apply this number in the formula. So it still varies from year to year based on the volume and the pattern of the rain. So there, you know, the end result should be similar. Yeah.
It's not that similar, but okay. But what would the impact be on the operations of the sanitation with the proposed changes?
We don't see any major impact on the operation or in terms of revenue coming in for the sewer service charge. It's just a different methodology being used. It's more a consistent fixed formula being applied.
Thank you. The reason why I ask those questions is when we get these rate changes, I think is it's important to talk about the impact on the consumer, but to think about the long term of what it means in operation so we're not caught off guard down the line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Corson. Any other questions? Dr. Davis, and then Commissioner
Just wanted to,
Reyes.
because of understanding the environment that we're in with this particular motion, and of course we have communicated with the court. So did we get pre-clearance on this formula with the court prior to presenting this motion? Did we have some discussion and communication with the disputing party and the court about what our intention, what our plan is in this motion? Did we get clearance on that?
Yes, we have discussions and also negotiation with the plaintiff's expert when
They were aware that this is in fact our formula.
Exactly.
And there was no opposition
Right.
to either the court or the disputant about our plan.
Correct.
Good. So in these cases, that's critically important that we do have some mutual agreement for both parties involved. And so I'm very pleased to know that what we have presented is the outcome of our having communicated with both the disputing party, the consumers, as well as the court. So with that, I'm feeling confident that this is a successful formula that we have to date.
Thank you, Dr. Davis, for that. I do appreciate that. Commissioner Reyes?
Just for my edification, how flexible are we in terms of appeals and adjustments? Because there's a lot of provisions here about adjustments, right? And periodic reviews of all, commercial adjustments, for example. Can you just unpack that a little bit, make it clear what the process is, timeline, so that our customers will be also educated that there is a process in terms of adjustments?
Sure. Just to give you a background, this dry winter compensation factor only apply to residential customers. So for the commercial customers, the process remain unchanged. Currently, I believe it's like a 0.93 factor being applied for all commercial customers for their water consumption to calculate their sewer return. For the process of the adjustment for the residential customer, it remain unchanged. It's only the calculation for the dry winter compensation factor methodology has changed. In terms of the adjustment, we have, in terms of the timeline, we have some backlog with our adjustments because of short staff, but we have been leveraging on hiring project assistants to help us to speed up and reduce our backlog. So I hope that answered your question.
In terms of the backlog itself, what is the normal turnaround time for when we resolve those issues?
On the residential side, I think our backlog is about, 4 to 6 months right now. So we're trying to reduce it, and we're in the process of hiring, staff, our MA positions to try to speed up the processing process. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's another discussion in the future, in the immediate future. Thank you for telling us that.
Sure. No
I don't
problem.
have any more questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. I don't have any other questions other than I just want to know next year, and I'm already thinking of next year, that's why. Next year for fiscal year 24-25, would you be using the same formula? What I'm trying to ask is this formula, because it was set through the settlement, is this a formula that we will be using from now on?
Correct. We will be using the same formula unless we go forward with a rate adjustment that will change the rate structure, the current rate structure. Until then, we'll be continue to use the same formula.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. For any rate adjustment, you would have to come to the board for that, so we're not there yet.
Yeah. The process is to go through the committee and council for rate adjustment, but we'll keep the board, in the loop for our proposed rate adjustment. I think we're doing a monthly
that's right.
report right now on the process of our rate studies, so we'll definitely keep you updated with the process.
Yes, definitely. Vice President Villegas?
Outside of this issue, I realized that we approved a rate study back in December. If you could give me a briefing on that, on an update before it comes to the board and before it's prepared. I'd asked for it in December, but I'd like to see where we're at right now.
Absolutely.
Because that's being done by an outside consultant.
Yes, we have an outside consultant working with us, Black & Veatch.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm just asking here at the board if you could just provide me with a briefing on that.
Okay, you want me to do it now?
No.
Oh,
no, just
sure.
Yeah, we'll schedule it. And
Okay,
that'll- yeah, that's
absolutely,
fine.
we can do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis has moved. Is there a second to Dr. Davis' motion? Second. Thank you, Vice President Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by Dr. Davis and a second by BP Villegas to move item number 3 forward and forthwith.
Very good, and we will take a roll call vote on item number 3, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas, President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Corson,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, item 3 is adopted and will move forthwith.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 4, this is a request in Council District 4 for a revised construction order, Cole Street Crest Drive Bulkhead Project, recommending the board to, 1, authorize the city engineer to issue a revised construction order for the project with a not-to-exceed amount of $584,936.00. Mr. Smith, good morning, sir. Welcome.
Good morning. Patrick Schmidt, Geotechnical Engineering Division, Bureau of Engineering. Yes, this is a motion to request the increase of the budget authority for this specific project. On November 30th, 2022, the city engineer issued a construction order for the Colcrest Drive near address 8464, bulkhead project to Jilk Heavy Construction with a not-to-exceed amount of $496,000, which includes contingency. This was done in accordance with the Board of Public Works approved policy for the pre-qualified on-call geotechnical structural contractors list. The 2022-2023 winter storms caused additional damages at the project site, which required the implementation of temporary mitigation measures to allow vehicles and pedestrians to utilize the roadway. Additional removal and replacement of asphalt paving is also needed as a result of the storm damage. The estimated cost for the additional work is $88,936. Change orders to facilitate this work will exceed the city engineer's authority of $500,000 for the project. So this motion will allow an increase in the project contingency to accommodate the additional paving work. Additional funding in the amount of $88,936 is available in the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Program Special Fund designated for this project. I therefore move that the board authorize the city engineer to issue a revised construction order for the project with a not-to-exceed amount of $584,936. That concludes the presentation of this motion. I'm
Great,
available.
thank you so much, Mr. Smith. You were just off by like the 84,000, right?
84,000?
Well, meaning
Yeah.
with your authority.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, any questions, colleagues? Vice President Villegas?
None, no.
Okay. Any other questions? No one asking. Any objections? Hearing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 4 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
I'll take Vice President Villegas and then Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 4 forward and forthwith.
Very good, and we will take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and item 4 will be, item 5.
Four.
Will be,
Four.
item 4 will be adopted and approved forthwith.
Great, thank you very much. TJ, thank you, Mr. Smith. Have a good rest of the day.
You too, thank you.
Moving on to item number 5, this is a request in all council districts for an AFE for Cal OSHA penalties. Bureau of Street Services and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $44,700, new adjusted amount of $64,835, to encumber funds to pay for fees, penalties for both current expenses and future settlements. And this morning, we have Mr. Wolf here.
Yes, Jerry Wolf,
Jerry Wolf.
Safety Engineer of Bureau Street Services.
Good,
And
good
we're
to see
asking
you,
for
sir.
approval. Yeah, good morning, good morning. We're asking for approval so that we can pay what we were fined. It is under appeal. We have abated the alleged conditions. Yes.
So basically, we're paying our penalty, but to your point, we're not going to pay penalties anymore because we're in compliance now?
Correct. This is what we're still trying to appeal some of those, so this could be less, but right now, that's what the target amount is for what we're
Okay, understood. Any questions, colleagues? I see Dr. Davis and Vice President Villegas. Okay, Dr. Davis?
This is for this quarter. This fee is from last.
So what happened was there was an employee who was injured in January of '22 and went through its normal course of him going to the doctor and such. And then there was a call made about this incident in January of '23. And so during their investigation, they came out and investigated it. So it's not specifically a quarter related, as a fiscal year or whatever. They cite it as now.
Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. We like the context around it. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 5 forward and forthwith? Thank you, Dr. Davis. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. TJ Knight, there's a first by Dr. Davis and a second by Commissioner Reyes to move item number 5 forward and forthwith.
Very good, and we will take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 5 is adopted and approved forthwith.
Great. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Hoping that it dwindles down from here. All right, TJ Knight, we're moving on to item number 6, but I understand that we do not have Metro Department and/or Department of Transportation on the line, do we? Can we double check?
Thank you, Madam President. Let me do a call out. There is no one here in our room in person. If there are any attendees who are here who would be able to and are here to present on item number 6, the presentation on the transportation projects update, if you'd please press *9 to raise your hand at this time. And seeing no one on our virtual platform, that is correct. We do not have anyone available to present the update. And I was not provided, just for context, I was not provided a name on this item.
Okay, understood. Can you please send them a message that we will continue this item for 2 weeks from today?
Will do.
Thank you
good.
very much. With that said, TJ Knight, does that clear today's desk?
Yes, it does.
Great. Colleagues, it is 10:54 and this meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the week.